Hello. It is a gloomy, rainy day here in LA. You can probably hear that. So I could be bothered to do a full face of makeup, but not to change out of my pajamas or my old coffee-stained sweatshirt. I would appreciate your understanding during this time. But you know, it's a day to be cozy, and it's a day to talk to you guys, finally, about some products I've been testing out since like December. Just kind of throughout the winter. Some of them are new to the market, some of them are just new to me. They were on my wish list for a long time, and I finally got to pick them up and test them out, which was very exciting. And I'm just gonna get right into it and try not to ramble on and on, just keep this quick and simple, because I actually have more products here than I was anticipating talking about, including a couple of last minute additions. So let's just get right into it. Starting with what I'm guessing is the one you guys are most interested in, the Makeup by Mario Foundation. I did do a first impression video on this, and now I am back with updates. This will surprise no one. I love this. I love this foundation. I think it is absolutely worth the hype. I've gotten to try it out because if you saw that video, you know initially I was having some issues with it and my go-to concealer, being the LYS concealer, not getting along, and I can confirm it's just that concealer. Something about these two formulas in particular do not meld, and I have a theory as to why. But beyond the issue of the concealer mishap, this formula is really beautiful and performed really well and lasted really well on my oily skin. And I want to make that distinction because this does have that beautiful luminous finish. Thunder! Aw, that's cool. Aw, little extra ambiance for our video. Oh, I hope the power doesn't go out. We have like power outages in our neighborhood pretty regularly. When it was really, really hot, when we were going through our heat wave in the summer, we kept having the power would just straight up go out for like an hour or so, or we had like little brownouts. I wonder if the rain will do that too. I hope not. I don't think my ring light can take a surge like that. Anyway, while this foundation does have that beautiful luminous finish that I pretty much always look for in a foundation, I prefer a more luminous, hydrating kind of formula, even for my combo oily skin. It's very adaptable. You can easily because it's very skin-like, I think depending on what your kind of preferences are, you could easily turn it into more of like a soft matte, and then it'll just kind of wear throughout the day in that kind of more luminous, how many times have I said that word now? That luminosity will come throughout the day, if that makes sense, but you're not going to look like oily or sweaty or anything weird like that. Of course, if your skin is any oilier than mine, feel free to take my words with a grain of salt. I really just get pretty oily through my T-zone, and that's pretty easily conquered for me at this point. But if you do have an oilier skin type, don't shy away from testing this out if you want to try it. I think it works beautifully. Oh boy. I would actually stand by the statement that this is perfect to wear for like events. Like if you have a wedding or anything like that coming up, I think that this would be a really good option for bridal makeup, or if you're doing makeup for a bridal party. You need it to last throughout the day with minimal touch-ups. I really thought that this worked pretty perfectly. In that first impression, I didn't mention in that video, and I should have, so I'm sorry. About halfway through the day, I did do one touch-up. I didn't add any powder or add any kind of product to my face or anything. I was literally just kind of trying to tap out all the areas where I had the concealer on that were getting weird. And honestly, that was all I felt the need to do throughout the day. The actual finish of this didn't like break up on me, except in the areas where the concealer was not melding with it. But on the areas of my face where I hadn't layered on the concealer, this was holding up beautifully. It was doing just fine. Now let's get to the concealer thing, because I was really weirded out, and I tried this out with the LYS concealer one more time just to be absolutely sure, because that's my favorite concealer. I use it all the time. I use it as foundation. I use it with all kinds of other products. Have never had an issue with it. It did not, this did not want to work with the LYS concealer at all, and I think it ultimately comes down to, even though looking at the ingredients list, I couldn't really pick out any specific ingredients that I think should have caused this or would indicate that these two formulas wouldn't work well together. but apparently not so much. And when it comes down to it, I think it really has more to do with the consistency than anything else. This has a consistency to it that I have never really felt before with another product. I've actually been so impressed with how lightweight this is on the skin. I mentioned in that video as well, it feels like nothing on the skin. It feels like you're wearing nothing. It's actually kind of bizarre considering how high coverage it is. Shockingly high coverage, by the way. It's just this really interesting kind of whipped gel cream texture. It's like light as air. You put it on and it feels like you're just kind of applying a moisturizer, and then it's just like, are you wearing makeup? You're not sure. It's kind of like an Emperor's New Clothes situation, and I love it. Whereas with the LYS concealer, while I would never, under any other circumstances, describe that concealer formula as thick, it is a creamier consistency, and compared to this on the skin, first of all, you can definitely feel it. It feels like you've got concealer on, but I will, with the LYS products in general, the foundation and concealer specifically, they almost kind of feel like skincare as they're going on. They don't feel uncomfortable or anything, but you definitely feel them on your skin. That's how I would describe them. The concealer is very creamy, really kind of emollient, and though not thick by normal standards compared to this formula, a little thick. I think just a little too thick for them to really mesh. I think that this foundation kind of calls for an equally thin, lightweight concealer formula to go with it. For instance, it really it works really well with the REM concealer, which is another one I've been enjoying, but it's so different from the LYS one. While I might reach for the LYS concealer more at this point, just because I use it for more things, it's generally a formula I can depend on, plays well with everything except this. I will only use the REM concealer with this foundation because I know it's going to work. Obviously, in that department, more experimentation is needed, but my theory is just that this foundation, because of the unique kind of texture of it, calls for concealer formulas that are, you know, like the REM, very thin, very lightweight, but also surprisingly high coverage. That's kind of the ongoing theme here. Again, I don't know exactly why. Maybe someday I will figure it out. But as of right now, the LYS concealer is the only product that I've ever had an issue with this guy. Other than that, it melds really beautifully into the rest of my routine. It likes all my favorite powders. It likes all my favorite kind of complexion products. It doesn't really do any kind of pilling or separating or weirdness with any of the other formulas in my collection, really, that I've tested it with so far. And I've been testing it out for like 2 months now, technically 3. It's the end of February when I'm filming this. Oh, actually, there is another thing I kind of want to touch on. This foundation, because it is more luminous and more hydrating, and because I do have an oilier skin type, I do find that it does kind of need a gripping or a smoothing primer in order to give it its best shot. I've tried this with my favorite primer as of lately, which is the e.l.f. Power Grip, and it worked pretty good. Because that primer gives you the grip you need, but is also very hydrating finish, so they just kind of got on fine. I also tried it using my Auric Glow Lust as a primer, which is not something I normally do, but I just wanted to test it out. And it wore fine, but in the areas in the center of my face where I get more oily and have a lot of texture, I noticed some breakup, and that was the first time I really noticed that using this foundation formula. So then another time, I just put the Auric Glow Lust on the perimeters of my face, and then I used the Milk Pore Eclipse Primer, which I've been really enjoying lately. I need to get another one because I think I'm on the last use of my current one. I just have the little mini guy. And that primer's been great with every foundation and such product that I've used it with. Potentially going to be a favorite for the spring and summer when it starts getting warm. This wore really beautifully over that combo. So one thing I would say is, at least if you have an oilier skin type, if you're a little drier, you might not have that issue. If you have a very well hydrated base. But if you're like me and you're combo oily or oilier than that, You can use this with an illuminating primer, just keep it to the perimeters, and then go in with your favorite gripping or kind of smoothing primer in the areas where you need it to keep your oils from breaking it up. It looked beautiful over the Glow Lust. In spite of it being such a luminous formula, it's never going to be too much, which is another thing I like about it. It's just that my skin particularly needs some oil control through my T-zone. But other than that, this is a beautiful formula. It's adaptable. I think it could actually work for a variety of skin types. You just kind of have to come up with your own cocktail of sorts when it comes to doing your base, like you would with any other foundation, I think. It's just so flexible and adaptable, and I'm always going to appreciate that. I do like the finish it has to start with, but I also like that it can kind of be customized to suit whatever vibe you're going for with your base. And it's going to last throughout the day as long as you prime properly according to your skin type. Just like with any foundation. I love this. I can tell I'm gonna wear this a lot. Which is what you would hope for. You'd hope with a foundation being as expensive as this one that you would love it and use it a lot. So I'm very happy with that. Another foundation, which is one that has been on my wish list for a long time. Like, I can't remember who exactly it was who initially turned me on to this product and made me want to try it. I think it was Raw Beauty Kristi. Her and one other person who I watch a lot, and I cannot remember who it was, but I know I've heard multiple people talk about this foundation. It's the Pure Cosmetics 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie Foundation. Let me actually see, because I can't remember why exactly they call it a 4-in-1. So let's find out together. I genuinely don't remember. 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie Long Wear Foundation and Concealer. ... 4 benefits. Foundation, concealer, skincare, and long wear. Okay. Oh, there's all kinds of, like... Sorry, my voice. There's all kinds of, skincare benefits. I was aware of that, but I wasn't aware of how, like, what specifically and how much are in this formula. You got green tea, ginseng, and vitamin B. And there's also Pure's proprietary Ceratin complex, non-irritating encapsulated retinol. That's really interesting. I don't know if I've seen that in a foundation formula before. Lactic acid, shea butter, and ceramides. We love ceramides. So, calling it a 3-in-1 I would understand. I don't know how long wear counts as like a 4-in-1 thing, because I think that's just what you generally hope for with the foundation. But alright. I'll give them foundation, concealer, and skincare. I didn't realize how many skincare benefits were packed in this little guy. That's pretty cool. You'd think I would do more research before buying a foundation. Anyway, this guy's really cool. Very, very different from the Mega by Mario foundation, and yet I feel like I love it just as much. Starting with the packaging. The packaging is really cool. This is where it being a foundation and concealer kind of comes into play, because it's got a pump, right? So you pump it out, but you unscrew it, and it's a big old doe foot applicator, which is great. Really cool packaging, really neat idea. However, me being the person that I am, which is a person who uses concealer as foundation regularly, I never use the pump. I never pump the product out anymore. I just open it up and I use the doe foot to apply the product. Because that's how I am. It's a good pump though. It's not like I'm not using the pump because it's a bad pump. It's just because I would prefer to use the applicator. I find it's easier for me not to waste product that way and to do, you know, the gradual building up of the product on the skin. Really nice, beautiful satin matte finish. Not completely matte. Doesn't look flat on the skin or anything. Doesn't make the skin look dull or chalky or weird like some matte foundations can. It is more of a satiny, skin-like kind of matte finish, which I really appreciate, especially with the matte base threatening a comeback. I initially was really against that, but you know what? I think I'm ready. In fact, I think I might be doing a video on how to achieve a soft matte base very soon, so be sure to tune back in for that if you're interested. I really like the initial finish. It is more of a medium coverage, which I also appreciate. I'm not a full coverage girly. I just never have been. Even at the time when full coverage was a thing, I was doing it, but I was hating it, and I was really glad to break away from it when that trend passed. And I don't think that's ever gonna be me. I don't think I'm ever gonna try to be a full coverage girly again. You could easily build this up, I think, to that point if you wanted to. It's just not desirable for me. It does double up well. I will usually basically do 2 sheer layers of this with the applicator, basically kind of spot concealing in the areas where I need the most coverage and then blending out from there. And I feel like that's all I need. Again, though, very flexible and versatile. You could, even though this has the satin matte finish, you could easily make it a glowy finish if you wanted to. I'll insert pictures for proof. These are so interesting because they both kind of start from the starting point of being more like sheer to medium, but buildable, and more of a skin-like finish, just in different directions. So depending on your skin type and your own preferences and such, if you'd like a glowy finish, but you'd also like to have the option to turn it more into a satin matte situation if you wanted to, this would be optimal. In the opposite direction, if you prefer a satin matte finish, but you'd like the option to be able to make it glowy, you might start with this guy. I feel like having a combo skin type puts me in the unique position to try both ways. Both just enjoying the products as they are and also kind of experimenting and figuring out how they can be adapted to, you know, whatever you want to do for that day. So I've had a great time testing both of these out. They're so different, but I like each of them for a lot of similar reasons, and that's that they give you a lot of room to play, which I really appreciate. I'm really glad I finally tried the pure one. The only thing is, shade match for Mario, great. Really happy with that. This is the lightest shade of the pure one. It's the one I'm wearing today, and it looks fine. It looks fine, but I do think it is, even though it is the lightest shade in the range, still not quite light enough. And I feel like if I wear a bit more of the product, like really layer it up, because I did test it out a few different times to see how much it can be built up. I do feel like if I go for a higher coverage look, you can tell this just is not quite light enough for me, which is fine because I know I'm paper white. I know that I have the complexion of a sick Victorian child. So I'm not super upset about it. I can still make it work. It's just that because of that, I'm always going to be naturally more geared toward doing a sheerer base with this guy. So that's also something to keep in mind. Let's talk about some other older products that I was really glad to finally be able to add to my collection and test out. Odin's Eye, however long ago, came out with blushes and highlighters that were so beautiful. And I picked up one of each. Starting with the blush, because I feel like, honestly, it's pretty standard. I got the shade Sunset Clouds, which is just like exactly the kind of blush shade I would typically go for. I really love the engraving in the pan. The packaging's just really cool. These also did actually come in really cool unicartons with like gorgeous artwork on them that I would have tried to save and use for other things, but these were so sturdily packed that I had to rip the unicartons apart. I had to destroy them to get the products out, which just is what it is. It was just a little sad because I totally would have kept them and used them to like hold little trinkets and decorate my new super fun bookshelf. But unfortunately it was not to be. I had to destroy them in order to retrieve my equally beautiful product, so it's all good. This blush formula is great. I would also be interested to try, because there were matte ones like this, and also glowier ones that were essentially like blush lighters, which I'm a fan of. The one in Roseate Love, which is like a pink, glowy one, I absolutely would be interested to try. I just couldn't justify adding it to my collection right now. So I just got this guy, and I'm very happy with it. It's a beautiful, silky matte formula. It is the blush I'm wearing today. I did it much more subtle because I do find these are more pigmented than you're expecting. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, although very blendable, if you apply too much from the jump, it is going to make your life hard to blend that out, like with a lot of blushes. So really decently pigmented. I would start with a sheerer, just a little amount, and build up as you want to. I'm pretty happy with it today, even if it doesn't super show up on camera. It takes a lot of blush for your blush to show up on camera. But you know, blendable, buildable, super lovely, big fan. The highlighter, I dropped it. I dropped it before I even got to really test it out. So like, the packaging's all chipped in various places. It's got a huge chunk missing. Chips everywhere. I'm really glad the mirror didn't break. That would have been awful. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. There's like a big crack running through the front of it. I really did a number on it, you guys. I was sure the product inside was shattered, but it was really just like this corner kind of cracked and started to lift up out of the pan and separate, but I would just kind of gently pushed it back in, and it's been fine. This is the shade Warm Sunshine, and it is beautiful. I am happy with it. I didn't want any of the really colorful ones, because colorful highlight's just not what I'm wearing these days. Hasn't been the case for a long time. So I got this one because it's kind of more of just like a beautiful gold tone. I will say, although I'm happy with it, and I find it very usable, it's probably not going to be a highlighter I reach for super often for various reasons. Let me see, actually, I'm going to swatch it and show you. See if I can show you. So it's a beautiful gold highlight with like kind of a warm shift to it that you can see. It actually looks super gold, right? But I think you can also see as I turn it in certain ways, it almost it has like the base to it almost makes it look gray on my skin. I'll pop up some pictures so maybe you can hopefully see more what I'm talking about. But like, in certain lights it's a beautiful gold highlight, and then I'll turn a different way and it'll almost have like a grayish halo around it. And it just can be very odd looking. So there's something about the base of this highlight that makes it look a little bit... My dog is scratching at my door. You can hang out in here, but I have to have the door shut. You can hang out in here. Is it... Oh, baby. Is the thunder scaring? Is the thunder scaring you? Can you lay down right there? Hopefully in the pictures you can kind of see more of what I'm talking about. It's a beautiful highlight. It is a little sparklier than I would normally reach for at this point too, but I'm not exactly against it. I'm kind of the mind that I know all highlighter formulas aren't created equal, and I'm actually fine with that, because I like playing around with different formulas and, you know, having options to suit all my various moods. But if you don't like sparkle in your highlight, you're not going to like this formula. And I do find, even though the base of the color is kind of weird and can kind of... and when I turned it at certain angles, you can see there's kind of like a cast on my face where the highlighter it is. It almost kind of looks like a weird little shadow because the undertone on my skin tone almost looks gray. I do find kind of blending it in with more of the blush, like I'll apply a blush and then the highlight, and then I'll go in with my blush brush again. No like extra product, just whatever's left over on the bristles, and kind of tap over it and try to blend it in a bit more. And that does help, but I feel like that cast is still just kind of visible. And I do still feel like I picked out the shade that was probably best suited for me. It's just not gonna be an everyday highlight for me, and that's fine. A highlighter I have been enjoying though, it's actually the one I have on today. The Little Rare Beauty Powder Highlights. I kind of figured I was gonna love this. Let's just get nice and look at that. I've like destroyed the center of it with my brushes and stuff, but whatever. I understand maybe some people were looking at it in pan and were worried it's gonna be like a strobing powder and be like super metallic and heavy looking on the skin. That is not the case at all. It's really beautiful. It's kind of playing off of our theme with a lot of our base products here, where it is more, as long as you don't go in with a super heavy hand, it is more sheer but buildable kind of situation. It is, although I've been enjoying it, I do have to mention, because I made note of this with the Odin's Eye highlight, it is, I got the lightest shade. This is the shade Enlighten. I also have this shade in the liquid highlighter formula from them as well. It is a white highlight, which you might think is exactly what I'm going for because I've mentioned before I'm paper white. Back in the day, back in 2016 to 2018 era, when I was first starting to get into makeup, and white, frosty streaks of highlight were the thing, I would be all about this. I would be totally into it. I'd probably have worn this highlighter every day. I don't wear white highlighter, really. This one, I think, has a really nice kind of champagne-iness to it, so it's not like super stark on the skin. And again, you can kind of apply it more subtly and it just looks like a nice, natural, almost kind of candlelit glow, which I'm a big fan of right now. So if you were worried about that white base, even if you are particularly pale like me, like I reach for more like light champagne and gold toned highlighters now, because I find that white highlighters, and I do still have a few other white highlighters in my collection, highlighters with that strong white base are just too much, even on my skin. Too much. And this one I don't have that issue with, really, because you can start out with it so sheer on the skin and then just kind of build and blend as you see fit. It doesn't look powdery or weird at all. It's super smooth. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this. It also makes me want to use the liquid one more because I've only used it a couple of times and I actually remember really liking it. But in the case of either formula, you know, liquid or powder from Rare Beauty, I've used each of them a little bit now, and so far so good. Even though I was initially very wary of getting the white-based shades just because it looked like what was going to work best on my skin, because I just don't really reach for white highlighters anymore. But these have a nice kind of undertone to them. It appears frosty, but it's actually just really soft and beautiful. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Let me just talk right now about the one product here I did not like absolutely did not like. There have been way more wins than duds over the last few months, thankfully. The Haus Labs Atomic Shake Lip Lacquer. For one thing, I got the shade Rosewood. Let me show you the pictures from the Sephora site, and you guys feel free to let me know if I'm crazy. But also here's a picture of me wearing it. I was not expecting the shade to be that dark based on the pictures I saw online, which was a bummer. I bought this for a pretty specific purpose that I won't get into now. We'll talk about that at a later date. And it's essentially not going to work for what I got it for, because the shade is too dark. That aside, it's not like it's an ugly shade. It's just not the shade I was expecting it to be. It's not like I'm not a fan of dark lipstick. If you've been here long enough, you know. When it comes down to it, it's a liquid lipstick. And I don't like liquid lipstick. Now, again, I bought this for testing for a very specific purpose that, as it turns out, is not going to work for other reasons. But I just feel like the marketing for this was pretty gimmicky. I applied it exactly the way they say to. It's basically supposed to be like a liquid lipstick with a high shine look. It's supposed to be budge proof. It's supposed to be perfect for long wear. Like Lady Gaga apparently wears this lip formula on stage a lot, actually. Which I believe. I'm not saying that that's a lie or like it's not great for all those purposes. It does have a nice, I wouldn't say high shine. It might just be because of the shade I got, but I didn't feel like it was particularly shiny. I didn't feel like it really gave me a lip lacquer look, but it also didn't look flat and matte like a liquid lipstick typically would. I also do think for a liquid lipstick, this formula is pretty comfortable. Basically, you're supposed to apply it, let it like part your lips and let that sit for like 15 seconds, really give it the time to dry down. And then once it dries down, it's not supposed to move. No transfer, no feathering, no budging until you eat something oily, probably. Because all lipstick's gonna break down with oil. That's just the way it is. I can't really speak to all that because I didn't have it on for very long. Because when it comes down to it, even if it's a comfortable formula, I don't enjoy wearing liquid lipsticks. I did feel like this formula was also a little thicker than I was expecting it to be, which probably also contributed to that. I had it on to take the pictures of this look that I absolutely hated and will have to redo at some point to redeem myself. And then once I was done taking pictures, I washed my face. I had to get it off. And I was lazy about removing my makeup that day, and I used makeup wipes, which I generally wouldn't do and wouldn't recommend. However, for all its claims to be super long wear and for you to really need like an oil or something to break it up, to get it off, this came off with the makeup wipe just fine. Didn't really even take too much effort on my part with the makeup wipe. So there's that as well. I will keep testing it. Listen. When it comes to lip products in particular, I'm the kind of person where like I wear it once and I know, you know, like when you know, you know. I haven't felt the need to reach for this again since that first time. I will reach for it again inevitably to give it another fair shot. I really think part of it was just that a lot of between the color and the formula just wasn't what I was expecting, and I was wearing it with a look I hated and couldn't wait to get off. So that was probably all working against it, me being a little unfair. But when it comes down to it, this really didn't strike me as particularly remarkable. This didn't really set itself apart from other liquid lipsticks, particularly lip lacquer type products, like in that realm. I didn't feel like anything really set it apart in that category. So there's that. That's really the only product here I did not like. Let's talk about some lip products that are pretty cool. Starting with the first gloss I've been testing out, the Patrick Ta Plumping Gloss. This has been on my wish list for a while to try out. I held off for a long time because I'd heard mixed reactions about the scent, and I was really worried I was going to hate the way it smelled, because a lot of people really seem to hate the way it smells. Thankfully enough, I don't. I think it's fine. People describe it as like a bubblegum scent. It does kind of almost smell like a slightly spicy bubble gum, if that makes sense. I love when lip plumpers have that kind of soft, sweet, but mildly spicy scent. I know some people also don't like the smell of the Fenty lip plumping glosses, but I love the way that that one smells. I totally do. Speaking of, I feel like it's worth kind of comparing this because it claims to be a lip plumper, to compare it to other plumping products that I've tried. And to be honest, there's really only one it's in competition with, because in general, over the years, I've tried a lot of lip plumpers, and I don't feel like they actually do anything. To be honest. Maybe it's because I naturally have fuller lips. I just don't really notice much of a difference on my lips with lip plumping products. I feel like I've felt for years and years and years that lip plumpers are just kind of gimmicky and don't really work. Anyway, there's really only one lip plumping product that I've actually seen make any difference to my lips ever, and that is the Fenty lip plumping glosses. The Fenty Gloss Bomb Heat. Yes, that's the name. I don't think this plumps your lips up like that one does. I do notice a slight kind of volume difference, but I can't honestly tell you if it isn't the same kind of difference that just a normal lip gloss with some artful lip contouring could do. You know what I mean? Which is the way that I generally feel about lip plumping products. Whenever a new like lip plumping, lip gloss, oil, whatever, comes onto the market, I want to try it because it's a gloss. I want to try it because it's a new lip product, and I'm just obsessed with lip glosses and oils and treatments and all that jazz. That's why I want to try it. I'm not trying it with the hope that it's going to plump my lips, because again, the only one that I've tried in my life that has actually plumped my lips is the Fenty Gloss Bomb. If you're looking for a gloss, plumping gloss for an actual plumping effect, that's always going to be really the only one I recommend, because that makes me look like I just got lip filler. Like, it makes my lips look crazy. But because of that, because it really does kind of, and even so, I should specify, it's not a painful gloss. I know a lot of people are turned off from lip plumping products because they're worried it's going to burn their lips. The Fenty one is not an uncomfortable plumping experience for me. It feels like a tingle. It almost feels kind of like the way your lips feel after you eat spicy food, coming from a person who likes spice, but honestly not even that intense. This is like the lightest, most pleasant little tingle on the lips, and I will say, because it's not super intense, like the Fenty one's a little more intense, the Fenty one turns my lips so red. I naturally have pretty pigmented lips. That lip gloss turns my lips so red, I can't wear it like over another lip color, because if I put on a lipstick and then I put the Fenty gloss on top, it turns my lips so red underneath that color comes through and it skews my lip color, so there's almost no point. I will use that gloss to prep my lips, get them nice and plump, particularly if I know I'm going to be wearing a matte lip that day. This one, however, it doesn't turn my lips red because it's not really an intense plumper at all. I can throw it on, you know, on its own or with a little lip liner or, and this is important to me, over another lip product, and I don't have to worry about my lips turning red and like changing the vibe of my whole look. So I like this one and the Fenty one for very different reasons. The Fenty one has a very specific purpose in my routine. It's for no makeup or no makeup days where I kind of want that like fresh lip injection look. That being said, even though I feel like this one's not as effective as that one for that purpose, I don't hold it against it. I think it's a really nice gloss formula, and I would generally recommend it. Another lip gloss is like very, very new, very new. I'm wearing it today. I've worn it one time before, which is why it's in this video. The Lisa Eldridge glosses. I finally got to try Lisa Eldridge. This is my first Lisa Eldridge purchase. Did I think a lip gloss was going to be the thing to finally make me buy something from her brand? No. I've gone back and forth a lot. I always like look at her lipstick line and like try to justify purchasing one of them to add to my collection, but when it comes down to it, the colors from her that draw me in are colors that are already very well represented in my collection, so like I can't do that. This lip gloss, though, I got the shade Dancing Rose. The lip gloss formula is already existing, but she just released some new shades, including 2 sparkly ones, both of which were really calling my name. The other one is Silent Sun. That one's basically a sheer gloss, sheer base with gold sparkle in it, which I already have a lot of in my collection because I really like shades like that. But Dancing Rose is more like, I've also already got the applicator dirty because I'm a monster. Again, sheer base. Sorry if gloss swatches gross you out, by the way. Like sheer with lots of pink and also kind of multicolored, but the pink is what comes out the strongest. Sparkle. It's just a beautiful, it has that glittery look, but it's really just like a glass like finish on the lips, I feel like just very, very gorgeous wet looking sparkle. Not sticky, almost feels more like a lip oil or treatment, but it's also got a decent enough grip to it that I know it's not going to travel around or wear off super easily. It's a really awesome formula. Really beautiful. Just exactly right for me. Would absolutely recommend. 2 more things. Both of them are for eyes. The Tower 28 mascara. I'm wearing it today. Hopefully you can tell. I think I did a better job with my mascara today than I usually do. This is great. I have not been able to stop using this since I bought it. The curved applicator did kind of worry me because I don't generally vibe with curved applicators. The last one I tried with the curved applicator was the Milk Rise mascara, and I hated that. I hated that one. Ultimately, that came down to the formula, not the applicator, but still. It just kind of really beautifully builds up on the lashes. It, obviously, I think its main kind of function is for length, but it does also give a decent amount of volume, kind of the best of both worlds. I'm a big fan. It goes on super easy. It can be a little messy, but if you're like me, then all mascara formulas can get a little messy, and it's very easy to go in with a spoolie brush and kind of clean it up if you get a little crumble on your eyelid or whatever. Not very thick or heavy. Really, my lashes are naturally quite long, but also pretty thin. And so it's really easy for them to get weighed down by mascara formulas, even if they're not super heavy. I kind of find there's no mascara formula that magically helps my lashes hold a curl or anything like that because of that. But I feel like this one still just looks nice throughout the day. It doesn't make my lashes sag like a lot of mascara formulas can, so that's really cool. I understand the hype. I'm a big fan. I will be getting another tube of it during the Sephora VIB sale. The last thing I want to talk about are single shadows. 2 single shadows from Glaminatrix Cosmetics, to be specific. I recently wore the shade Fire Orchid. Whoa. For a look that I posted on my Instagram. I'll post a picture here. Let me swatch for you. It is a pretty crumbly, textured shimmer formula, but as you kind of press it in, and that has been my favorite way to apply these, is by pressing them on the lid with my finger, it just kind of melts into the skin. Doesn't really give you a lot of fallout or anything like that, as long as you're kind of carefully applying. So that's Fire Orchid, which is just beautiful. And the other one I have, which is actually on my eyes today, is Baubles. Baubles. Aw, it's so cute. I have to swatch carefully because of the crumbliness. Yeah, these are just so beautiful. Like, super, they're smooth, but metallic, but also sparkly. Ooh, look at those next to each other, too. Hopefully you can see the flips. So Fire Orchid I would kind of describe as very pink base. There's a little bit of a peachiness to it. The peach is mostly in the flip. It's got like a peachy gold flip, but a very strong pink base. So I really vibe with that shade. I think it's beautiful. Baubles, however, is more of the cool toned. It's almost like an icy blue to lavender situation, but there's also a little bit of green in it. Like, it's just such an interesting shade. These are both very unique to my collection. I just don't have a lot of duochromes and multichromes and stuff on hand. I have like a bundle of them from Lethal Cosmetics that I'm a really big fan of, but this year I'm really trying to delve more into the realm of indie eyeshadows, particularly the duochromes and multichromes and stuff. My goal is to have this palette hopefully filled up, if not just kind of mostly filled up, with eyeshadows from really cool indie brands that I want to support throughout the year. I hope that by the end of the year I have a really decent collection going on in this palette. So yeah, we'll have to see where we're at with that by December. Anyway, that's it. That's our roundup of the last few months. These are all products that I kind of accumulated throughout December and January and have just been testing out ever since. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hang out with me. It was very cool of you. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you'll stick around for the next one. If you're not already subscribed or you haven't already liked this video, please consider doing one or both. Neither are mandatory, but both are highly appreciated. Be sure to check the description box before you go for any pertinent links so you can follow me and see what I'm doing all over the internet if you care about that. If you're interested in hanging out with me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, we have fun over on those platforms, I think. Whatever the case, thank you for being here. I hope that wherever you're at, you're doing okay. The weather is crazy everywhere to varying degrees. In the country where I'm in right now, the USA. So I hope that you and your loved ones are doing well and you're staying safe and you're staying healthy and all of that good stuff. You guys have an awesome rest of your day. Be kind to others, be good to yourselves, and I will see you back here for the next one, hopefully very soon. Bye!